You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika. It's been an interesting start here, so I apologize to Christina. I apologize to all of you, and I am in my son's room with no control. So if we comment, I think I can only talk. So that I do fairly well. So let's start over here and introduce Christina. I had this so practiced. It was going to go well this morning. Hello, everyone. Look at what's happening. I have taped earphones, which apparently are set up so I can't change the earphones. Okay. Our guest today is Christena Rose. Christina's love of tales began with listening to her grandmother's ghost stories. And that love grew into a passion for writing her own stories and sharing them with others. That passion was evident in my reading of her debut novel, Twisted Veil, and after reading Black Pine Road, I feel we can trust in its ability to grow and enthrall us all in the future. But Christina's passion for stories doesn't end with writing. She's also a professional artist. And whether she is writing 1,000 words or creating a picture that's worth 1,000 words, the worlds she creates using both methods are definitely worthy of a deeper look. So let's get started taking that look. Welcome to Fika. Finally, Christina.
Thank you for having me back.
I don't know. I don't like the lighting in here. I don't like
beautiful, no worries.
Going to tell him he has to redo it. But thank you, DJ, for sharing your room with the world. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. You've always said that your grandmother's stories really influenced you. Can you explain how they did that?
Yeah, so when we were really young, she used to tell stories around the kitchen table. This was back in the 80s and 90s, so it was good old entertainment back then. And all the stories were about distant family members on my late grandmother Christina's side, and that's who I'm named after.
Oh, so that's very nice.
Yeah. And it's one of my favorite childhood memories, listening to her tell these stories. However, I lost sleep. I think after she told a bunch all at once one time, I didn't sleep for 2 straight weeks. And I had my bedroom in the basement, so I had to sleep upstairs on the couch for, I'm pretty sure, 2 weeks. But it's a fond memory.
Did you get any complaints? Did she get any complaints?
No, because I think my mom had the same experience when she was young. Yeah, she got it from the aunts and uncles too. So
can you remember which story you found particularly frightening?
Yeah, I wrote one down. I talked to my mom last night and just to get the details down again because I remembered it, but I wanted to get it right. So this one's passed down from my great grandfather. So that would have been my grandma Christina's dad. And apparently he was a real skeptic and didn't frighten easily, so which makes this story all the more spooky and convincing. So as it goes, he was coming home late one night out with his buddies, and it was really dark. He was on horse and buggy. That's how long ago it was. This was before streetlights, so when I say it was dark, it was really dark.
Yes. Well, for those of you who have never lived in the country, you don't know dark.
Yeah. This was in the country. This was Apple Hill, Ontario.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So that night, he decided to take a shortcut through a wooded area, and it was a path he took very often, so he knew it well. But that night, out of nowhere, the horse suddenly reared up, and he gave it a little whip to get it going again, but the horse wouldn't budge. It was hard to see, of course, but my great-grandfather said it looked and felt like someone was holding the bridle.
Oh my
So like,
goodness.
no matter how hard he tried to get that horse to go, it like wouldn't move its head.
Because somebody else was in control.
That's what it seemed like, yeah, to him. And like I said, he didn't spook easily, so it really gave him a fright. It made like his hair stand on end and gave him the chills. He gave it another whip in the rear, and again the horse wouldn't budge. At this point, he was about to like get off and investigate, but he was pretty freaked out. And so something told him to give it maybe one last whip, and this time it did break free and took him the rest of the way home. He was a pretty like rough and tough guy, but after that night, apparently he like never took that path again. Always told the story.
I guess not. And did you ever take that path even in broad daylight?
I've never been to Apple Hill, so I don't know. No, I did Google Earth it once, and there's not much there.
Obviously, it's all been scared away.
Yeah, perhaps. That one always stuck out with me. There are others, but that one like scared my mom too when she was little, you know. So, and my grandmother, obviously. So, I told it to my kid. Maybe she'll tell it to hers. Who knows?
Well, I mean, that's what's supposed to happen, right? The stories go down from the kitchen table to the next kitchen table, and around they go. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So that got you into the whole ghost stories thing, and that just the fun of being scared. And
there is a thrill. Yeah, for sure.
It's a controlled scared, because you kind of think it might happen, but you're in a safe environment now. Exactly. You're not in that environment.
I'm more scared of like the living than the dead. Let's be honest.
Yes.
We won't go down that road, but
you didn't say anything about political. I mean, I will get that way in other shows. If you want to, Christina, we'll go there. But I've had enough confusion for today.
Totally, yeah.
Once again, I am so sorry.
That's okay.
With that. Okay, so with the ghosts, I've been contemplating what exactly about your writing that draws me so much. Now I know originally I met you at a Comic-Con, and I was just scooting down the road to find somebody, and I saw your art, and I stopped right in my tracks, and I said, oh. And then I found out there was a book attached to it. And I did that thing that, having worked in Comic-Cons, my purse was in my booth. I did that thing where I said, okay, well, I'll just take your card and I'll get on that. And you thought, there she goes, never to be seen or heard from again. But I did read it. And by then I had Fika, and I was like, come on over and talk to me, girl.
Yeah.
So it is that it is... it's that nostalgic, okay? It's that nostalgia that Gothic has, that horror doesn't have. You know, there's that, I've said a million times, I like really concise writing people, and I do, but then it depends on my mood and the genre. And when it comes to Gothic, we all think 19th century, right? Mm-hmm. We feel that, you know, we go back to that horse and cart feeling of that darkness and that. So we want that lyrical. We want that Frankenstein. We want that. Oh my goodness! Who wrote Frankenstein? Shelley.
Mrs. Shelley. Yeah.
Mrs.
Mary Shelley, wasn't it?
Yes, you're right. Thank you. My goodness, I'm in trouble. So it is that nostalgia. It is that atmosphere. It isn't. It has to be the ghosts, and it has to be the atmosphere, and so you picked two, which completely different atmospheres for your two novels, Twisted Veil and Black Pine Road, but they are like perfect, you know, if you're not in England somewhere around the wars, there couldn't be a better place. So do you want to tell us, I guess, a little bit about each of these stories? Don't give away too much, because we want people to pick them up. Just enough, and how you chose the locations you did.
Yeah, so with the first book, Twisted Veil, I it was really like from a little dream, and I never dreamt of being a writer at the time, but I was like, oh, I woke up and I was like, that would be a fun book. And I love to read. So I was like, maybe one day I'll write that. And I ended up doing that. Now I just sort of built the story around that little bit of dream that I had. And I don't know why I chose like Louisiana, deep bayou. I love the idea
Because
of like
it's scary.
it's cool. Yeah, that's
It's
probably why.
it's an environment that,
Yeah.
throughout history even has
Mhm.
screamed that kind of thing. So it was
Yeah.
good choice.
And I was
Good
trying
choice.
to find an explanation for how this could happen. And then I was like, that's how I stumbled on voodoo. And I did lots of research. I went to New Orleans and just to get the vibe and the feel of everything. And that's why I chose, and like obviously like the big haunted house and like the isolation and the macabre and all the occult stuff, like just like love that stuff. So I really wanted to get like the reader to feel the heebie-jeebies and of her walking up and down
Well,
the
you do.
halls. Yeah, the heebie-jeebies.
I mean, because cheesy, that's a perfect word. Because think about it. You get out of a car,
Yeah.
and you're faced with a neglected Victorian mansion. Okay. And that, I'm sorry, I don't even care if it's not neglected. No matter how beautiful a Victorian mansion is, I avert my eyes from the top window because I know some little child in white is going to be looking out at me, right? I'm not looking up there. I don't want to know what's in there. So, and then you get all that like that very dense Louisiana woods and swamps around it. And yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was a perfect
I mean,
choice.
I know it's cliche to do like a haunted Victorian mansion, but like, how fun is it? So I was like, I'm just gonna write what I think is fun. So I don't care how cliche that may be.
I don't think there's anything that's not cliche.
Anymore, yeah.
Cliche anymore.
Yeah.
Christina, it's a matter of finding your voice
Yeah.
and your way of doing it.
Yeah.
So you didn't well, let's get into the emotions of that. And I just have something to say. I have a lot of things to say, but I'm going to talk even when I'm frazzled. One of the things that makes a book Gothic, a story Gothic, as opposed to possibly some other horror genres, is that there's a grieving going on. Now, and usually in Victorian mansions, that means that somebody just passed or, an actual physical grieving. But you chose not to do that. You sort of modernized it up a bit. I think you modernized it up a bit. Where it was a grieving of a former life or something that happened in life. It was a life change, right?
Right.
I think in both. I was back over Twisted Vale last night, just to like you called your mother. I went back to your book, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Just to see if the things that I thought were real were real, which is a whole nother part about Gothic novels. But I do think that you modernized it and you created your own voice in doing that.
Thanks.
So yeah, no, there's nothing that's not cliche.
No.
And why would you put it in a Victorian mansion? Because that's one of the best places to put it. But you managed to find in Black Pine Road, you managed to find a second most perfect place to put a Gothic novel. Where is that?
One a little bit more closer to home. So I'm from Northern Ontario, and then I even lived further north for a few years. I'm in a quiet small town called Kapuskasing, if anyone knows where that is. But so I just drew some.
I didn't realize that. I wondered when I read it because it was very detailed. If you had,
yeah. So I've lived in like deep winter and stuff for a couple years, and grew up in Sudbury, Ontario, which is still pretty north. But so that one, I just like this. It kind of goes back to my grandma's house and like the vibe in her home, and like feeling kind of in a really small community and how there's really great things in a small community, like how people look out for each other. And then other not so great things, like the feeling of being isolated, for instance.
And the secrets.
Yeah.
There's
And the
always
secrets and like the hidden little rumors. Of course, everyone knows everything about everybody, right? So
Yes, no, it's true.
yeah.
And they make those markers. You
Yeah.
can talk about this and you can't talk about that.
Yeah, and they always say write about what you know. So I wanted to really do that in my story about Lake Huron up in Mexican, which is the northern town that I've created. But that's why I chose there, because like I feel like I've been in that house before and I've been creeped out. Maybe not lived there, but like I've stumbled upon a few.
Right, and neglected. No, you do. Even
Yeah.
if you're driving around.
Yeah.
And anywhere northern, you see all these abandoned houses where,
for sure, that's exactly what I was kind of going for.
And you're like, what happened to those people? Where did they go?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. People, it's if we haven't gotten that across, it's a neglected, abandoned
like old
farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. That which is in the middle of winter, with blizzards happening and driveways that are too long to be plowed out. And so, I mean, even if there isn't a haunted, that could be a nightmare in itself. But
yeah,
for all you writers out there, whoever dreamt of going to a neglected, abandoned farm and be totally cut off, read this book and you'll be happy to stay where you are. Because I know it definitely took that romantic view out of my my dream box.
Yeah, it does seem kind of like a romanticized idea to like go off and follow your dream and create an atmosphere for yourself that you're going to be able to focus. And that's kind of her whole motivation for going there. So she had a reason to be there, but realized fairly quick that it wasn't quite the experience that she had signed up for. It was worse than
the house had other plans.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of woke up with her. Yeah.
So what makes this, I mean, that's an interesting topic. Mm-hmm. How do you modernize something as traditional as the Gothic novel? Something that has been around this long. So you have your protagonists are they have an independent nature. They've seen something of life. It's not like they're wearing those long, they're wearing lumber jackets. They're not wearing those, but everybody wants to wear those long flowing gowns you see on the covers of traditional Gothics at some point. But not very practical, maybe in Louisiana, but not definitely in Northern Ontario in the winter. So these are two ways that you've modernized what you coined as a cliche, which I would never have said. But writers tend to be humble and put down their. I'm going to just start. I wish I could get through and just go. No, it's good. No, it's good. So then we come to the other thing. It was not what it seemed to be. The idea of this was not what it seemed to be. Mm-hmm. And that is the biggest thing about Gothic novels, is the isolation first, mm-hmm. which you did very, very well. Not necessarily always from people, just away from people that you can talk to, that you feel secure with. And, it makes it best if they have no loved ones or whatever out there. Mm-hmm. But even if they do, you can break the communication down very quickly in today's day and age. No signal.
No signal. Yeah, which she knew before she went in there. She was okay with it at first.
She was a strong, independent woman who wanted to write. God save us all, right? from that kind of inclination. Right. So you get into this situation and stuff starts happening. Mm-hmm. And you don't know whether you can believe what you see are you here? And you start to doubt yourself. That is the biggest danger, I think, is a doubting of oneself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And you did that very well as well. So what I need to know is, okay, you have all these characters in your head that have these dark thoughts, these insecurities, and all of this going on. Now, does that occasionally make you have to go out in the sunshine for an ice cream cone? Or is it a very cathartic, not that I'm saying that we all have our stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is it a very cathartic ending to your stuff?
There was like one chapter that was harder to write. I'm not going to say what it was. It was sort of later in the book, and it's kind of a flashback chapter. I don't know if you remember, Vicky, but it touches on some triggering subjects for some. Maybe not myself, but I knew that it would probably trigger some people because it's a bit of a heavier topic and a scary moment that ends in like the worst possible way. So that part definitely was like hard to write, but I don't know.
Because
Like,
you were trying to write it in a way that wouldn't hurt anyone.
well, yeah, but I also wanted to be true to like the fear of what that moment would have entailed.
Like.
So that part was tough. I mean, other than that, like I feel like I get like a thrill out of writing a good scary scene.
Take that, you people.
I mean, ones that are maybe not so like true and triggering, but like when it comes to ghosts and paranormal and supernatural stuff, like that stuff, like I don't need to come up for air. I feel like I love to write that stuff, and I like to like hope that someone else is like gonna get scared. Like I want to maybe not like make people lose sleep, but give them a little chill.
Well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I mean, come August or, somewhere in there, I honestly get sick of sunshine. And I go looking for, a black woman or to get that environment or scary stories. Like, it's just, okay, it's time for it to start now. Enough, we need the shadows. We need that. It's fun to...
Yeah. With Black Pine Road, I really had to like find out, like, I knew I wanted her to have that like decline into madness a little bit. So that was the part that was probably the most challenging for me, because I really wanted that to come across on the page. Cause like, I've never experienced that personally, but I really wanted to make the person believe it that we're reading. So that was the vibe I was going for.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And so she's okay, people. She's healthy. I mean, I put your picture up and I said to someone, she may look perky, but she has a dark and evil heart. No, she doesn't really. I was just trying to sell you as a Gothic writer at that point.
I appreciate it. We'll go with it.
It has to be said sometime.
Sure.
So I cannot be, okay, this is the explanation here. I'm not actually on my computer. I'm actually in here as a guest. I have to run back to my computer when I go to end this show. Mm-hmm. So I can't click any of the messages, or I'm just reading them like the rest of you do coming through. But I can definitely address them. Mm-hmm. And Brian's just being silly. He said that poor abandoned house, all alone and mocked on being ugly. Maybe it's just utterly beautiful. No one said it was ugly, Brian. Did you say it was ugly? She didn't write it was ugly in the book. I mean, it was definitely
it was forgotten. Well, on purpose, yeah.
For reasons. First of all, it wasn't that house had issues, okay? You have to read the book to see that happening. Mm-hmm. Two, poor Christina, you have to come back another day. I feel so bad for this. Dave, if you're listening, can you please address the gentleman who seems to have gotten on the wrong message board? Because it says Fika with Vicky up in the corner, so this time I'm sure it's our world. Okay? Thanks, son, if you're out there. Okay. Because I can't make this move, or it's not letting me reply to them. Maybe if I hit, no, we're going nowhere with that. Okay, so I have just told you how much I love Christena and her Gothic writings, and how I just learned to depend on getting one every couple of years now that I've had two. But nothing ever stays the same in Vicky's life, or it seems to go well at all. So no, it's true. I trust what she's doing because she's a good writer. So I hear rumor that Christena is changing genres and she has something new coming up. So you want to talk about that, Christena?
Yeah, I'm writing a book called Wild Eden, and it's more of a contemporary romance thriller. So it's still some scary, suspenseful elements, but nothing on the supernatural side. More just real people dealing with real life.
And as you said, you find that scarier than the paranormal. And I'm with you on that, girl.
I'll definitely go back to writing like
I didn't mean to make
romances.
you feel guilty. You have
yeah,
to write,
I do love it. But I was like, could I really want to write another haunted house book? Like I have to like maybe start diving deep on a new theme of the paranormal for sure. Because I did 2 now in a row. So now this book is totally different atmosphere, very summery, very like forced. There's romance. It's more of a romance, but like with the element of thriller in there. This is why in my scary stories, I have romance in there. That's like my 2 favorite genres. I just like push them together.
And there we go. Everything that's good.
That's how I wrote them.
But that's the book you want to read. And as you said many times, you want to read the book. You want to write the book you want to read.
Yeah. Like I have many hobbies and artistic things I do. So if I'm not interested in the project I'm in, I'll just move on to the next thing. I'll never finish it. So I just write something that I know I would love to read. And then hopefully someone like me will come across it and love it too. As a writer, you just hope that someone else appreciates what you're doing.
Oh,
get a thrill out of it.
You're out there. I mean, that's why we're here. Okay.
Right.
I am out there and I like to read what you like to read. So maybe we just have a bond.
Yes, there you go.
Brian, I'm going to ask that question. I just haven't gotten there yet. Okay. Yes, people, I'm actually looking at my book today. And because it's not that it's just, I'm just, yeah, I'm just, so we, what were you doing up near Kapuskasing? I shouldn't ask a public, what would anybody be?
I moved up there for a boy, and then it didn't work out. So I left. As soon as that ended, I was like, I'm out of here. And I moved south. Yeah.
I moved to Sudbury for a boy, and it started snowing on like September 30th. And I was like, okay, so I'm going home now.
Yeah.
If you want to or stay, that's completely up to you. But yeah, no, never move north for a boy.
Learn from me. Yeah. They're not worth it.
Never ever.
They're not worth the bug bites. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you live on the lake, so that makes it better. I mean, you're not.
Now I live by one of our Great Lakes, yes, so which makes it so much better. I ended up here because of that, so that's okay.
Christena is definitely into romances and romance in general. That's what we're doing. Okay, so I had my way of asking, and Brian has his way of asking, but they're both the same question. Now, we talk a lot about do-it-yourself independent authors around here, and one of the things that you do with your art is with your art is you make your own cover pictures for your books, as well as like other prints of the characters and that. You tend to paint the characters and things. So Brian asked, does your art and writing influence each other, or do they live in separate parts of your head? They are definitely, I'm going to say, together. But tell us how that works. Does the visual image come first, or the writing? Like, how do you make it happen, Christena?
Yeah. So my first love was painting. Then I discovered writing, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the love of my life. And when I started writing Twisted Veil, the first book, I did an art show of paintings inspired by that book. And the truth was, it was like all I could think about was the book and the characters. And I just really wanted to like see them come to life. And because I can paint and draw, I was able to make that happen. And it just gave me inspiration. Like with every artist, you need some sort of spark to get you going with a piece. And that was my spark. And so I usually, when I'm in the midst of writing a book, is when I'm also, when I'm not writing, I want to like draw the characters and pivotal scenes, just because I want to like pull it out of my head and like see it with my eyes on canvas. That's all. Yeah.
But it's really it's really it's really cool. It's very cool, people, because you can, okay, if you get a book and you're inspired by the characters or whatever, and you want merch to go with this book or to throw a quote on or whatever, and she's got it right there. And it's like I saw, do you still have all the art for Twisted Veil up on your website?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go to her website, Indie Rose, and it'll be in the link in the show description, it will show you all these pictures. And there's one of the one character I particularly like, and I mean, I particularly like all of them, but you will see her covers as well, because she painted the covers for her books, like not individually, but she painted it, and then they were originally paintings, right?
Yes, they're large paintings. Yeah.
Like someday when they have the Christena Rose Museum, you can go and look at those paintings in real life.
One's in my bathroom, and and the other one's in my bedroom. Framed and looks nice. Yeah.
Okay, as long as it's framed, it has some form of respect, Christena.
Well, it's a nice bathroom, so this is fine.
Okay, good. And it's a nice bathroom. That makes it all okay. And then with I've seen two. I have to go looking. Have you just done the two pieces of art plus the cover for Black Pine Road, or?
Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot with that one. I think just because I was writing feverishly and I was working full time at a like an eye clinic at the time. I'm not working there anymore, but so I just was like doing the two, and that's all I had time for. So I did a couple, but again, it was just like whatever I could fit in when I felt like I had the energy. Now I'm a full-time artist, so I'm not doing anything else. So I'm just writing and I'm teaching art. And
do you have like a studio in town? Like,
I do have a studio now. Yeah, I teach like weekly like watercolor classes for beginners and stuff like that. And
do you have your art hanging up in there?
Some of it, yeah. Yeah. It's a budding business, so we're just starting out.
How long have you had it?
Since September.
Okay, so you haven't lived through a tourist season yet?
No, not yet.
That would be interesting. I want to check in on that to see how that goes for you.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing like markets, like Comic-Con, for instance. I go every year to that. And
which one do you go to?
Right now, just the Niagara one, but I'll probably branch out eventually.
Okay, because it's been hard because they've been closed for a couple of years, and I think everybody's lost track of what's going on and who's where and what. Is definitely. Did that affect you as an artist? Like not getting
it affected the release of Black Pine Road for sure, because like we're just talking about it now. I released it 1 year ago, but I feel like because I wasn't able to go to conferences, and as an indie artist and author, I rely on going to those to market myself and meeting people and talking to people. And that's when I sell the majority of my books, because I don't have like a big publishing agency behind me doing what they do. I'm my own salesman. So when I'm like at a conference, Comic-Con, or market of some sort, that's when I'm like talking to people and people are buying the book. And that's when I get the most feedback, because strangers have read my book. Yeah. So it's pretty, because I wasn't able to do that over the lockdowns and stuff, it did hinder the opening, like, release of the book.
Because both authors and writers live, once again, very isolated lives. So be careful you don't end up in a goth novel. But you don't get that feedback. You can work like for 3 months and write 1,000 words or paint those pictures, and nobody says, "Good job, Christena." Way to go, right? Not even at the end of the day. Here, here's a candy for being so good. Just don't. So if you go to a Comic-Con, if you go there, then you get that feedback from people, right?
You do. Yeah. And you get to meet people, and people that wouldn't normally have ever known my book existed now have it. So like, just even if it's 20 books or whatever, that's 20 more people that never would have ever seen it. So like, now that I'm able to go out again, like, obviously I'm pushing it again, but yeah, it takes years to write. So
oh, no. You have to. People think that, I'll just write the book and I'll put it out there and I'll know. And I knew fairly certain because of Comic-Con. But there, I would never have met you or known you.
This never would have happened. Yeah.
Or if I did that thing where I just said I'm taking the card and called you again. But it could be 3-4 years before someone even hears of your book or gets around to reading it.
Absolutely.
It's a busy world. So
it's all living up here for years, years and years.
and so it takes years and years to come out. So you are definitely saying that go out there and market it, people.
Yeah, you have to do the work. Yeah.
So the ground floor, and some people just market like locally, and I don't think that there's only so far you can go doing that. And you don't know what your competition is, so you can't glare at them across the street. Plus, this is a small town, people will know. And then there's people that just do online marketing, but you'll travel a little bit, you'll mix it up, and you'll get it out there.
Try,
so,
yeah.
No, good for you. Good for you. Brian says, when you write, do you prefer, first of all, everybody, just because I talk to Brian the way I do, doesn't mean I'll talk that way to you. To you, if you write, it's just Brian, kind of deserves it. Okay. When you write, do you prefer to write on a computer, use pen and paper, or a combination of both?
Yeah, so it depends where I am. So actually, I use a program called Drive, which is through Google. And because it's on like the cloud or whatever, I can write anywhere on my phone. So in bed, if I can't sleep, sometimes I'm on Drive and I'm rewording like a paragraph, or I'll be on the computer. Rarely do I use pen and paper. That's only if I'm like out and I think of something or a cool line or word that I've heard, I'll like scribble it down. But we have phones these days, so sometimes I just use the note program on the phone. But to write, I can scratch out and reword. I reword and rework the sentence. You said I have a lyrical style, so I literally am not happy with a sentence until it gives me some sort of.
Yes,
that sounds right.
Yeah. No, I think regardless of whether it's lyrical, because then you're listening to the sound and how it comes in your
there's
head.
like a rhythm.
Yeah.
And if I'm writing on paper, I feel like I'd have a harder time rewording it till I feel that rhythm. So honestly, the best tool I've found is working like on the cloud. I'm sure there's other programs, but I use Drive, which is like a Word program, but it's literally, I can just use my phone, bring it up, and it saves it automatically, so that I can just bring it up at home and then eventually just download it onto like Microsoft and go through there. But yeah, that's how I pretty much wrote Black Pine Road, is through Drive. But it was when somebody showed me that, I was like, it was like a game changer for me. I wrote so much faster. I can do it anywhere.
you can just do that. And that's it. I think it doesn't matter what style of writing you do, you need to take the time to find the words that fit this. So, you know, if it's concise, you got to cut it out. If it's lyrical, you have to like hear it going. For example, lyrical. I've got the first 2 lines of a quote that she has here. The girl searched a sky painted with power lines and sky-high rooftops. Her pen tapped the paper as if it to loosen all the words from its stubborn tip. That pen. It's stubborn tip. See, and as opposed to, you know, she couldn't get the words out of her head. So she hit the pen to make it happen. And that is, I mean, no, I'm not doing that because I love concise writing, but I also like lyrical. I'm just all over the place, people. You can tell by watching this show, there are days I'm just a mess. So most days. So that's a very beautiful passage, Christine.
Thank you.
That's at the very beginning of Black Pine Road. Like, so it sort of sets the mood of what kind of girl she is and how she's longing for something more, and you know, all the things that get you into trouble. I was going to say, you know, neglected, abandoned farmhouse. Right? So with that being said, we also talk, when you're doing it yourselfing, you can also contract other things. Like you do part of the book yourself, but then you might send it to an editor to do something else. And you, Christena, do your own covers. So have you ever done covers for other authors? Are you willing to do that on a commission basis?
I would love to do that. That would be so cool. I do commissions, but I have never done a book cover. I live in a small town, so it doesn't really come up often that there's an author looking for somebody. But if somebody did reach out to me from far and wide and enjoyed my art style and wanted me to do a piece for that, I'd love to take that on. That would be so much fun. I did go to school many moons ago and have a degree in graphic design. So
because our art doesn't prove itself.
I have a diploma.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt your resume.
Yeah.
No. Seriously. And I'm pretty sure she would read the book to get the feel of the cover and all of those things. So if you like her work, if you go on her website and you like her work and you're looking for something differently, definitely give her you have Messenger on your Indie Rose.
On the website there, you can contact me through the website for sure. Yeah.
Right. So you can contact her and see. I'm going to pledge this because not yet. There are things going on, so I have to wait a little while. But I sort of pre-ordered a logo for Fika through Christena. So as soon as I get my act together or close, that we'll be definitely working on that. So that's how much I trust and like her art.
Appreciate it.
So you are, honestly, you have a storybook life, girl. You're living in like a resort area, right? For the summers. You do have, perhaps not isolated, you have company, but you do live in a more secluded area in the wintertime. Like, you know, if it gets snowed in, you're definitely not going anywhere for a while.
Yeah,
right?
the highways close often. Yeah.
And for a while.
Often than when I lived way up north, which is crazy, but it's true. It's because of all the farms out here, all the open land and the wind off the lake. So
that's what does it, right?
Yeah.
If you're closed in with trees, you're not going to get it, but you get it from the lake.
That's
Yes,
right.
because northern areas can be very good for that. Like when I first moved from southern Ontario up to North Bay, I was just amazed at their plowing system. Like people in town were complaining. I'm like, no, because if you live where we are, like this doesn't happen. Plus, you don't have so much of the ice. Like you don't have the
Yeah.
rainy ice stuff, which is really slippery.
Yeah.
You have plain snow. So she knew what she was writing about in Black Pine Road.
Yep.
So you live sort of that, you live a good artist life. Like you have it going on for
I
an
do.
artist
I got it
life.
all set up now. Yeah. It took me a while to like, I just quit my day job not too long ago because I was like feeling pretty disenchanted myself, even with the release of my book and all that. And you're just back to the humdrum of the 9 to 5. And I didn't have time to like, I wanted to like be a creator of things. So I just didn't have the energy and the time, and it was just sucking my life away. And I had the means to do it. Not everyone does. So I'm very lucky. I did say goodbye to that part of my life and opened my little art studio, and it's doing okay so far. So I am sitting pretty right now. I'm very happy, but you know, life is short, so I had to do it.
Yeah, well, I think that that period of life a couple of years ago, that we mentioned, guess who wants to,
Yeah.
made a lot of people rethink what it is
What's
they want to
important?
get out
Yeah.
of life. Yeah. So I sort of noticed. I don't know if you want to. I sort of noticed there's a tattoo. Is that tattoo on your fingers? And does it say
A couple.
right? But does the one say? I saw RITE.
Yeah, so it's backwards,
Oh,
but
right.
it does say right.
No, it shows up front words.
And that's
It
the
says right.
letters. Yeah, that's the letters from Black Pine Road.
Right. I wanted to mention them.
And then
I loved the letters.
this one says paint, and these are the letters from Twisted Veil cover, the font.
Right. Right. Okay. I want to bring that up to people. I got confused. I love that in Black Pine Road, she has the scary letters. Okay. I looked up to see if there's a term to explain them and to name them, and it just kept saying different fonts. So I couldn't, is there a name for them?
I can't
Scary
remember
letters?
the name of the font, but it's like a typewriter font that I paid for the rights to use. I found online. I'd have to look it up to send you what they're called. I can't remember the name of the font, but for each one, I was mindful of that, and that goes back to my graphic design years. But like for Twisted Veil, the lettering that I used is very like paint drippy, like paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because she was an artist in that one, and then this one she's a writer, so I used like the typewriter, the like spooky typewriter font for that one.
And that's what we're calling it here on Fika, the spooky typewriter.
Yeah.
If you can find a better name, because I went out there searching, thinking there has to be a name for this.
There is.
Lettering.
It is on there somewhere. I can't remember. It has like a random. I don't know.
It doesn't. We like spooky typewriter font, and you don't see that anymore. Like there was a time that letters were decorated in books, and you have that. I mean, I'm not just talking about the monks in the Middle Ages and their calligraphy, but things were a little. So it does add a little extra atmosphere to have those on the first letter of every chapter. That's what you did, right?
Yeah. So a lot of the book, well, not a lot of it, but like the main premise of like the isolation and her is kind of really inspired by The Shining. I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen King.
Yeah. No. I can see that.
So like with The Shining, the writer Jack Torrance, him and his family like live very isolated at the Overlook, and then he has that like decline of madness. So in a way, the similarities is they're both writers, and there's an isolation aspect.
And you came up with the perfect example of the difference between horror and Gothic, because horror was, he was imagining this stuff. I guess there were ghosts in there, but he sort of believed what he saw and everything. So he didn't have, Gothic is where she didn't believe what she saw. And so she started to question herself.
Yeah. So like up until the very end, but she a lot of time Gothic, they like try to explain it away as being something like natural at the end, and it kind of like, to me, that's always disappointing. For some maybe not, but I really didn't want to do that. I wanted like my ghost to be real because I just think that's funner.
Like, evil spirits to be real bad.
There to be a real, I don't want it to be the wind.
So no Scooby-Doo's here.
No. Yeah, like Scooby-Doo.
It's not going to be those meddling kids. It's going to be. You just said something else that made me think. Okay, so I guess it's okay now because you said you were inspired by The Shining. So we're bringing other things into Black Pine Road. I also kind of saw it as a distant Beauty and the Beast, in which her strength saved the fella, and he ended up giving her, I can't say what it is, you know what he ended up giving her in the end, that he built. Every reader's dream, right? Every writer's dream. So when I read that part, I thought, it's kind of like he came across this way, but he was only made that way because of the evil spell that had been put on him by his, past. And not that there's a real evil spell. That part is it's just metaphor. But an evil spell. And that in the end she broke the curse and he gave her this wonderful gift. Can you think that?
Well, it's like a little bit of like, you're wondering, it's suspicious of him maybe a little bit at first, or like maybe not suspicious, but like he just seems to have like abandoned her there, and like they explains later why he didn't actually leave her there, or why he was being so like difficult in the beginning.
I think you were very good at showing his hesitancy to do that. I never ended up disliking him. I always felt there was a reason, and maybe it's just being older. You're not gonna expect some guys to explain their feelings to you right off the bat, right? Especially in Northern Ontario.
Absolutely.
Were you going to go there? I love Northern. I mean, I've got the Northern Lights on here. I love Northern scenery, Northern, everything. I love Northern everything. And now one of my favorite writers comes from the North. So, I'm going to say that. But
I do too. And that's why I think I wrote it up there too, because I really wanted to also romanticize some of the like parts I really love about the North, which she comes to like appreciate as well. Just like the sense of community that you get from a place like that. Also the nature. Like I've never seen so many wild animals as I did when I lived in the North. Now that I live south, I don't see that as much.
Yeah, you don't live south yet.
So more south than
Kapuskasing. Now that I live part way south.
Way more south than then. But like when I lived there, I worked at an airport, and I'd see moose and bear, and like you don't see that here in this area anyway. But I really wanted to portray that like the wildness of the North, which it is. It's quite like when you're in the deep woods like that, you're going to see all sorts of things.
Well, there was enough to scare her there without for the average person, like there's to be isolated like that just for safety reasons.
Yeah, for sure. Alone, like just being like in the woods in general, like as alone and not protected or whatever in that way. She gets warned, but like, and I don't think she fully
she's not listening.
Yeah, she doesn't fully understand.
And also she's from the South. And everybody knows
city girl.
They don't know how tough it is up here.
Those city girls.
And so yes, I you did a wonderful job you can tell that you had been up there, because I kept thinking, I'm wondering, like, just it was very, very realistic, and very I just love Christina's writing people. Okay, so like I meet this girl who is at a Comic-Con, and I read this book, and I think, wow, this is really fantastic for a first novel. And then I wait around, which took forever. No, I wait around. And books take a long time. All right. And I wait around and I get Black Pine Road just to make sure that what I thought was real, and it was very, very real. So if you're looking for a Gothic story, definitely go and go in your little Google and put Christena Rose in and see what she's got out there. But those two books I definitely think are wonderful. And check out the art, because it's beautiful, it's colorful. That's why I chose her. Because I knew she would love color. So Christena, is there anything else we need to know about? You know?
I don't know. Yeah, no, that's pretty much covers it. That's all I'm working on right now. I'm working on Wild Eden. It's going to be probably a little bit before that one's done. I'm about halfway writing the first draft. And just keep an eye out for artwork being released. I'm definitely super inspired by my story. So like I am putting out artwork for it. So you can see those already.
You know what? I think I just want to add, for you and all the entrepreneurs out there, whether they be writers or painters, whatever, I think we're getting very cynical or lazy with our social media. And I'm responsible too. And we're not following people, and we're not liking, and we're not doing those things. But with the algorithms, sometimes that's the only shot that a person has of getting out there. So you're not liking the person. You're not necessarily thinking they're the greatest. I like Christena, and I think she's a great writer. But if you just, once in a while throw a like on there or whatever, it will make a world of difference.
It really does. Yeah, it does help a lot for someone like me, for sure.
Yeah, and share it out there and scare everybody. Let's scare everybody.
Give a few nightmares, you know.
Give nightmares. Don't go to, is it Apple Hill?
Pardon?
Is it Apple Hill?
Apple Hill, yeah, in Ontario. I think it's in Ontario, I'm pretty sure.
Did you look up Apple Hill in Ontario?
I think it's near Ottawa area. I've never been, but I did Google Earth it, and again, it was very sparse. What was there these days? I'm pretty sure it was back then too.
There's a lot of sparse land around Ottawa.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. There's Ottawa, and then there's sparse land.
And the houses they lived in were very creepy. Like even apparently my great aunt Ella lived in an old funeral home there with her husband in Apple Hill. So there's stories that come out of there. So all their stories are like things that happen to them.
After you get this other thing out of your system. No, you're growing, and I think
Are you saying I should write a story about Apple Hill?
Yes. There's others that do that, and they take their family history and and they work it into a story, and it sort of brings them closer to that. So I think that's definitely.
It's definitely crossed my mind. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. Okay. So, no, I think we need to let authors grow. I think there's too much of branding, and I think we miss out because everybody's not just one thing. Right?
Nope.
So you grow and you write your other books, and then you come back.
I'll come back.
And write one about Apple Hill.
Okay.
It's been fantastic seeing you. Unfortunately, I don't know how else to do this. I'm going to have to leave you here by yourself for a couple minutes before I get over to the other computer so I can click you out. Okay. I have no control over that. So let me give you talk to the camera and tell people what you did this summer. Let me give you a question before I go, so I don't just leave you there.
How about I do the synopsis for Black Pine Road? I think
okay, because we never actually. Okay, yeah, go for it, girl. Okay, she's going to do the synopsis for Black Pine Road.
Okay, let me find it here. Okay. Okay, so where Black Pine Road ends and the forest begins, a house waits cold and empty. Rumors of dark spirits keep the people of Mohican away from the sole property and the quiet path that leads there. When aspiring writer Lee Thorne arrives in the small northern town, she knows nothing of its secrets. She sees the isolated house on Black Pine Road as the perfect winter getaway to write her first book. Hoping to leave the chaos of the city behind, Lee rents the long-abandoned home from its haughty landlord, Will Ashmore, though even he refuses to step through the front door. As autumn turns to winter, Lee braves the harsh conditions, but struggles with the nightmares and paranoia creeping into her life. Electrical disturbances and shadowy figures haunt the halls of Lee's new home, making her question what is real. Then she hears it, a voice hissing, "You're mine." Has Lee gone mad, or has the seclusion she desperately sought turned into a waking nightmare? The demons of the past and present have come to light, and Lee must fight them both or watch everything she loves go down in flames.
Okay. And that was fantastic. And I just realized I couldn't do that because I would cut you off in the middle of what you're saying. So everybody do not look at Christina and make her uncomfortable. I read over there. Thank you so much. And thank you for being understanding. And yeah. Okay, I am back to this computer and I'm all on my own because I want to tell you about next week's guest. Next week, our guest is going to be Irisanya Moon, and she's, among many other things, a witch, an author, and Reclaiming Initiative. We'll be discussing her book, Reclaiming Witchcraft, Earth Spirit, Honoring the Wild, and Aphrodite. Now, before I say the next part, because I want it to be calm, I'm going to have to say it and then run over and put the closing music on. So, yeah, I got to figure this one out. Okay, so until then, may your coffee be hot and your stories sweet. Thanks for listening, everyone.
You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.